All right. Hello, everyone. This is Travis Baskin. I'm the head of regulatory affairs here at KeepTruckin, and I wanted to put this short video together to talk about the hours of service changes going into effect on September 29th, 2020. You may recall that the FMCSA in 2018 published an advanced notice of proposed rulemaking, seeking comment about possible hours of service changes from people across the industry. After receiving over 5,000 comments, the agency, the FMCSA, published a notice of proposed rulemaking adopting some of those comments into proposed rule changes and inviting further comment. And having received almost 3,000 public comments to that notice of proposed rulemaking, the agency on June 1st of 2020 published this final rule and stated that it should go into effect in 120 days from publishing. And that date is September 29th, 2020. So let's talk about what those hours of service changes are. First, to the short haul operations. The exemption found in 395.1E1 currently applies to short haul operations that remain within 100 air mile radius of the normal work reporting location. So drivers that come on duty after 10 consecutive hours off duty have 12 hours within which they can operate, and they must return to that same normal work reporting location within 12 hours and be relieved from duty, and they must only operate within a 100 air mile radius of that location. And if all of these criteria are met, then you aren't required to keep a record of duty status. That rule is going to change by expanding that time limitation and that distance limitation from a 12-hour day to a 14-hour day, and from a 100 air mile radius out to a 150 air mile radius. And this is going to harmonize a number of the different exemptions that are based on air mile radius around a particular location, such as the non-CDL short haul exemption found in 395E1 E2, or excuse me, 395.1E2, as well as the agricultural exemption, agricultural commodities exemption. As you can imagine, this is going to open up the ability for a number of different or a number of new drivers to take advantage of this record of duty status exemption. So I encourage you to take a look at that. Next, the 30-minute break period. So currently, as we're all aware, a driver may not drive if 8 hours have passed since the last time that that driver has spent at least 30 consecutive minutes off duty or in the sleeper berth. In the new requirements, or in the new hours of service rules, the 30-minute break requirement is not going to be tied to on-duty time. It's going to be tied to driving time. So under the new rule, a driver may not operate if that driver has accumulated 8 hours of driving time since the last time they've spent at least 30 consecutive minutes in a non-driving status. And that status can be fulfilled by 30 consecutive minutes of off-duty, for example, or sleeper berth, for example, or on duty, not driving, for example, or a combination of the three, or of any other non-driving status. This is certainly going to allow for much more flexibility within a driver's duty day. The split sleeper berth provisions. The split sleeper berth provisions, while they remain somewhat complicated and a little confusing, they are changing, and I think in many ways for the better. So the current sleeper berth provision provides that a driver may split their 10 consecutive hours of off-duty or sleeper berth time required between duty days into two periods that are separate one of which being at least 8 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth, which would not count towards the 14-hour calculation of a driver, and the other being at least a 2-hour period of off-duty or sleeper berth time, which would be part of the 14-hour calculation. Under the new rules, the split sleeper berth provision still requires 2 qualifying periods. However, the larger of the 2 periods is now allowed to be at least 7 consecutive hours of sleeper berth time. And the shorter period would be 2+ hours of off-duty or sleeper berth time, where both qualifying periods, the shorter and the longer, add to be at least 10 consecutive hours, at least 10 hours. So, and when both qualifying periods are present, neither qualifying period is used in the calculation of the 14-hour duty day. So again, rather than the 8 and 2 split, the new rules are going to allow for a 7 and 3 split, or a 7.5 and 2.5 split. And when you observe them both, neither will count toward the 14-hour calculation. A lot of big flexibility there. Very, very important, and it's important that you understand how to calculate your split sleeper berth time under the new requirements. And lastly, the fourth change to the hours of service rules will be to the adverse driving conditions exception. Obviously, currently, a driver may drive for up to 2 hours, may get up to two additional hours to drive whenever they encounter an unforeseen adverse driving condition in their operation. However, the exemption today, or the exception today, does not extend your duty day from 14 to 16. It only extends your 11 hours of available drive time out to 13. Under the new requirements, or under the new exception, both of those hours allocations are going to be extended by up to 2 hours. So not only will you get 13 hours to operate, you'll get up to 16 hours to do it whenever the driver. Another change was to the definition, or to the subject of the adverse driving conditions exception. The driver's knowledge, or what they should have known, is what is important under the new requirement. So if a driver experiences an adverse driving condition that they did not know and reasonably could not have known about at the time that they began the operation of the vehicle, then the adverse driving condition exception can apply. It is important to make sure that when you experience an adverse driving condition, that this exception, or this exception, may apply only when that condition was not foreseeable, essentially. But if it is, but if it was not foreseeable and you do experience it, well, the new adverse driving conditions exception will give you up to 2 more hours in both your driving time and your 14-hour duty day clock. So those are the 4 hours of service rule changes that are going to go into effect on September 29th, 2020. As always, if you ever have any questions about KeepTruckin platform, or indeed these hours of service changes, by all means, feel free to contact our support center at support.keeptruckin.com. Call us at 855-434-3564, or email our support team at support@keeptruckin.com. Thank you.